I here present unto you Queen Elizabeth, your undoubted Queen.
She wasn't born to be Queen, but her reign is set to be the longest in British history. Her coronation set her apart to a life of service. That service now spans 7 decades, from the 1950s, when she was a young queen in her 20s, bringing up a family, to the years that followed. She's been there at moments of triumph and during moments of tragedy. This was a visit to Aberfan. She's travelled the world. No head of state in history has travelled so widely. She's witnessed huge change and met pretty much every contemporary leader of note. In Britain, she's been served by 12 prime ministers, from Churchill to Cameron. The 9th of those prime ministers was John Major.
Many people will be pretty concerned, bewildered, perhaps some even frightened about the sheer pace of change, particularly many elderly people. And yet throughout the last 60 or so years, the Queen has been an absolute constant. Whilst prime ministers have come and gone, celebrities have come and gone, life has changed, she and the monarchy have been an absolute constant in their lives. And I think that is very reassuring.
There was a time, largely forgotten now, when she did occasionally speak out on issues. In 1949, for example, Princess Elizabeth talked about the darkest evils of divorce. That stopped the moment she became Queen. The historian David Starkey believes she's been too passive in public.
In private, you know, she's sharp, she's funny, occasionally malicious, a good mimic, all of those things. But public utterance, a very firm and large padlock, is placed upon the royal lips. Maybe there's gold padlock in waiting.
But public discretion does not, in the view of at least one former Prime Minister, necessarily equate to an absence of private influence.
When the Queen meets her Prime Minister, she has the opportunity to question, to ask, to counsel. Nobody knows, and no Prime Minister is going to tell you exactly what happens at those meetings. So those who say she's been too passive, how can they possibly know?
My Lords and members of the House of Commons.
She is the monarch, the crown personified, the embodiment of the state, familiar to many but known to few, the latest and now longest serving in a line which stretches back more than 1,000 years. So what is she really like?
She's never unkind or cruel. She never makes sarcastic remarks, in my experience, about anyone she has met in the course of doing her official duties. But she can still see the funny side of things that have happened, and she can have people in stitches.
She is Elizabeth II of the United Kingdom, a monarch who, by the shrewd use of old-fashioned virtues and forward-thinking pragmatism, has entrenched the position of the monarchy. She will never retire. For the remainder of her days, she will strive, as she pledged on the day of her coronation, to be worthy of your trust.